Hey, good morning guys, how are you? Good morning. So, interesting times as ever. What am I going to talk to you about today? Well, I'm going to talk about the control structure, which is why this is fitting in on Reset's sniper channel. But it overlays and overlaps cryptos, conspiracy, and many other topics. I remember when Bitcoin was first introduced, like many, I've spoken and did my Skype calls, which I can no longer do due to volume, to many individual people. And we all have a similar story. We heard about Bitcoin quite a long time before we actually acted on getting some Bitcoin. In other words, we asked the question, is this for real? Is it going to go away? Let's put it on a watching list, a watching remit. And in fact, in my own story, after I decided I actually wanted to go ahead and maybe get some Bitcoin, it was quite a few years ago. And I opened some account or some link that somebody forwarded me. So I was being introduced by somebody. And there I was immediately faced with either an exceedingly trivial amount, or load up your passport, driver's license, and all know your client information, images and all. And I thought this was a libertarian thing. I thought this was anonymous money. I thought we got a chance to lurk and hide. I wasn't expecting to have to give number, name, rank, and all the details just to buy something that was supposed to be anonymous. And I remember I stopped right there and I thought, that doesn't meet my criteria of anonymity. And I didn't proceed. And it was then a couple of years later before I finally got my act together. Why am I talking about this? Coinbase, one of the biggest fiat onboarding exchanges, has recently just submitted to a US IRS remit to provide all people that have onboarded more than 20,000 US dollars since its inception, 2013 I think it is, through to current date. So all that KYC information was always about knowledge and knowing. If Coinbase has done it and has relented to a US government, you might say, well, it's one onboarding fiat. They the bad guy. And it's one government that's now got the information. They're the bulliest of the lot. Actually, you're forgetting something. Control structures across the world, even with national or geographic disagreements, agree on one thing: controlling the peasantry globally. Why do I say this? I say this because if I go to South Africa, whose diplomatic relations has drifted a bit since the apartheid era, with our friend Zuma, we have passport control here in the UK that IRS scans your passport. It takes a picture of you every time. That same equipment is getting straight in there. When you say, well, that'll be a private company, Francis. If I look at the IRS and the taxation collecting and the techniques, those things travel universally to all governments very, very quickly, regardless of relationships with each other. In other words, the game and the rule of tax extraction, control structures hate arbitrage. They hate high elements of differentiation and variation. They don't get their whole way with this one, but they hate it. In other words, they recognize that smart sheeple can position according to laws that best benefit them. And those laws do exist, and there is arbitrage to be had, but it's not as easy as it might be if governments weren't cooperating as much. So if one government has the information, remember that GCHQ here in London scrapes data for America that Americans, CIA and dark state are not allowed to scrape on their own citizens. What do you think happens? Data sharing, and it finds its way back. They circumvent laws by overriding the original intent of that law to protect a citizenry shamelessly to distribute information, and Britain cooperates and supports it and stores all the data and then leaks it all the way back to GCHQ. Now, in that one example, understand that once you have one exchange that has come under pressure, the likelihood that future others will come under a similar pressure is high. The likelihood that once one government gets access to the information, anything that pertains to citizens of other places could be shared if they can get access to it. So it's the beginning of proving that a leak that I felt, and I remember that first moment, and it stopped me by probably 18 months to 2 years going ahead with crypto. I remember opening that first account and then saying, hang on, I'm being asked for this? I don't even remember the exchange anymore. I don't even know if it still exists. I don't know if I want to do this. And I stopped in my tracks. And that instinct is the proof that the KYC, know your client, know your customer information is being extracted. This is a parallel to your banking system. This is absolutely a parallel to your banking system. To those that doubt the on balance of probabilities assessment, that this is not a new money system to replace the existing system with a lot of the traits and the needs of the old money system, look at that one example. If this is the big bespoke libertarian experiment, Satoshi was the guy for the libertarian and really existed and didn't want governments anymore involved, why do we have gate hubs that require you to give a picture of your face, your passport, your number, your residency, your identity, which country of origin you are currently domiciled and resident in, which countries have provided you with a passport? Why is this information? And where do you live? A utility bill. Where are you paying utilities? AKA, on what basis can you be deemed resident and therefore tax obliged to that country's laws? Why is all that information required if this is the great libertarian experiment? For those of you that think you're getting anonymity through involvement in crypto, I'd like to invite you to think again. Think again hard about how the new system has so many traits that reeks of the old system, and how already the biggest bully boy government of the world has already bent somebody's arm and they are bleeding and squealing and singing like canaries. Can I get a cappuccino, please? Yeah. A cappuccino for all my viewers as well. It's going to cost me a couple of Bitcoin, but enjoy it, chaps. It's on the way. Amazon will drone it in. Anyway, so ask yourself that question. Is this really libertarian money? And come to the correct conclusion. This is your new money system, and it's going to be a rhyme quite a lot with the old one. However, there is store of wealth benefit that's being gained here, and you should exploit that for the reasons that it offers potential wealth enhancement. But expect and plan for tax events, to be reined in for tax events. So make sure about your residency, your domicilium, and make very clear if you sever ties with certain nation states, citizenry, that those ties have been severed, and be able to prove and keep records for if ever that knock on the door comes for the capital gains that you've materialized. And remember, every time you sell and put back in full dollars, there is a profit realization event. This is Francis talking about control structures and pointing out to you that there's no libertarian money out there at all. Just an opportunity to exploit for your own personal wealth gains. With that, I'll love you and leave you, and I'll be talking to you more on other interesting topics.